Hey guys, day before yesterday, I recorded another I recorded another session of poker, but something went wrong as you can see because now you're hearing my voiceover, but the sound wasn't working of my OBS system, of my streaming system, and I didn't notice until the entire session was done, so I should pay attention to that a bit more because sometimes the sound of my OBS doesn't work and I should restart it first. But it was a pretty interesting session, so I'm just going to give you a summary, just go through the video, show you a couple of hands and what tables I played and the highlights. So we started with a 1-1 and the 3 PKO Turbo tournament that I have often played already without lots of luck. And we'll just go to a couple of course I will be playing other tourneys later on, but let's go to a couple of highlights first. So the first one here is I have pocket nines are a couple of limpers, so I erase pretty big to 800, which is 5 big blinds. And I get 2 callers, and the flop is queen queen tray, which is okay. They both might have a queen, but chances are not that big. So I see bet, I get a call, and then we both check the turn because I'm not too confident in my nines. There's a jack, he might also have a jack, he might have a queen, then there's a king, and then this is very difficult. I decide to make the call, and I bust, mainly because of pot odds, and because I looked very weak checking on the turn. If we go back a bit, so on the turn I check behind, so I look weak, and I invite him to bluff. Of course, there are many hands that beat me, but I decide to call anyway because of pot odds. There's already a lot of chips in the middle, but then he has a queen, and I look rather stupid calling it off. Queen 6, also not a very good hand, but he got lucky. Moving on then to the next hand. We have right here. Let's go back maybe a bit more. Oh yeah, pocket aces. We have the Hot 550 has just started, so turbo tournament, where we immediately get pocket aces, so that's pretty nice. We've also started the big 750, so playing full tournaments right now. Here you can see the big 750 where I have pocket trace. But this is the one that was interesting. I have pocket aces, I raise from early position and I get re-raised, and I decide to 4-bet, and he calls. And the flop is pretty nice, 7, 8, 9 of spades, and I have the ace of spades, so I have a draw to the nut flush. So I decide to c-bet. Then there's a jack. That's not great because every 10 now makes a straight, but I think that he doesn't have too many 10s. He can have pocket 10s, maybe jack 10 suited, but I 4-bet him pre-flop, so this was a bit surprising that he had queen 10 and he lucked out on the straight, because I mean, if I raise and then he re-raises with queen 10 suited, that's already pretty aggressive, and then I 4-bet him pre-flop and he still calls with queen 10 suited. That's not something that I expected there. So and he got lucky turning the straight, but I still had I mean, I had the overpair with the aces, and I had the draw to the nut flush, so of course I call him when he shoves. But I only have like 20 bigs left because it's still the beginning of the tournament, but not very I would be out pretty quickly out of this one. It's a turbo tourney, so it goes quickly, and I immediately lost most of my chips, so that one hurt quite a bit. Very aggressive player. Don't think he played that well, but okay. And then we move on quite a bit. Let's see. Right up till here. Yeah, so here we have in the 750 the PKO has started. So this is the bounty builder, and we have Ace King off under the gun, which we raise, and then we get min raised. And I decide to just ship it out of position. He didn't feel very strong to me. Maybe I should have just called here and not taken the gamble. I could see a very cheap flop. I only have Ace King. Ace King is of course a premium hand, but you know, I have no pair. He has queens. A bit surprising that he min raises with queens, but okay. Sometimes players do that, and I lose the flip, and I only have 5 big blinds left, 6 big blinds left, so I would be out of that one pretty quickly too. So not a lot of luck in the 750 PKO. Also not the big 750, which I already have busted at this point. I'm out of that one too, and you can see that I'm still playing the 110 that I started. I've begun to play the 330 600 player cap, so only a max of 600 player can play this. The 550 bounty builder I'm playing right now, the 110 zoom turbo, which we will get back to later. Then the 750 PKO, which we just saw a hand in. I think here I will ship it with the 10 jack off and get called. And yeah, so oh yeah, no, I survive here, but wouldn't be for too long. And the big 330 we are also playing here. I'm going to move on then to a later hand. Right here. Not this one. Yeah, so here I have aces, and yeah, this is a pretty nice hand. This isn't the 110, the 120 that I started right in the beginning. I'm doing okay, but I only have 20 big blinds left, and I'm below average. But then this huge pots where I have aces gets re-raised. It's an all-in with 2 players, and I take it down, and that's a very big pot I have there. And I move up to 55 big blinds, 113th. So that was also pretty nice pot. Meanwhile, I also busted the 750 PKO, as you can see. Moving on, a couple of minutes then. Let's see. Yeah, so right here we have Ace King suited. We're in the big 330. A pretty interesting hand. So I have it in small blind. Everyone folds, and I raise 3 big blinds, which is pretty standard, I think. And good flop. I hit the ace, ace queen 9 is flop, rainbow. I hit the ace and a backdoor flush draw. So pretty standard, I think, that I c-bet there. Then I decide to slow down on the turn. I check, he bets, and I call. The river is total blank. I check again, and he decides to bet pretty big, I think, like 2/3 of the pot, if I remember correctly. We'll immediately see. Takes his time. Yeah, it's even more. It's 4/5 of the pot. It's a pretty big bet. I think this is a hard one. It looks like I have a very, very good hand, but what exactly do I beat here? Ace Jack I beat, but there are so many two pairs that he has. I can beat Jack 10, um, but maybe it doesn't bet with Jack 10 on the turn, because he has. If we go back a bit, uh, I mean he could have Jack 10, and if I see bet on the flop, he can for instance call with Jack 10, and he has an open ender. But then the 10 gets there, so it's less likely that he bets on the turn when I check because he has showdown value. And would he do that again then on the river? I just feel that he's very strong here. I really feel like he has made some kind of two pair. Can be 9-10, ace-9, ace-10, ace-queen. They're all good, and I don't think there's. I think I only beat bluffs that he would check behind a lot of hands on the river if he just has a weaker ace like even ace jack, um, or ace 8, ace 7, and so on. If I was him, I would fold there. I would just check behind there. I mean, so I decide to lay it down. Maybe it's pretty tight, but I was happy with the lay down actually. Um, okay, let's move up a couple of hands, a couple of minutes to 137. Right here, yeah, we have kings here in the 330, the 600 player cap one. That's just you raise, get called, and that's a beautiful flop. Of course, we have a set. We lose to a straight, but of course we don't fold that, and he only has the jack played very loosely by him. He has the open ender, but jack deuce blew himself up, and we won that all in. So that was pretty pretty nice. Meanwhile, still doing okay. We have a middle stack in the 110. This is actually a pretty nice hand here where we have top pair, but let's move on to the next interesting hand. That is right here. Yeah, we have jacks. And there is, let's see, first we have a racer from middle position, and then the small blind shoves for 18 bigs. And we have jacks in the big blind, so of course we are not going to fold. We decide just to call because we're not sure what Grind Ninja has, and we don't want to ship like 50 bigs, and then this happens. So he goes all in for 50 bigs, and this makes it a whole other matter because this looks very, very strong to me. He open raised and there was an all in. I called the all in. If he then shoves over that, that looks very strong, and it's at least ace king, which I would do okay against, but it can easily be an overpair. And of course, Remel, who went all in, will have a good hand too. If he shoves over a raise. So in the end, we decide to fold. That was a good fold because he had ace king suited, and there's pocket kings, and so we escaped there. So that was a hand I think I played pretty well. The next one then. Yeah, right here. Again, jacks, and there is an under the gun all in from queens, and I had jacks, so that's just unlucky. This was a pretty big dent in my stack. I was doing very well in the 330, and then I lost jacks to queens. That was a pretty big pot and set me back a bit, but I still had a healthy stack here from more than 30 big blinds, getting pretty close to the money here too. Meanwhile, we're doing well in the 110 Zoom Turbo. Can I show you some? Yeah, so here this is the 110 Zoom Turbo. I've already said it a couple of times. This is my favorite tourney, partly because of the soft feel, but mainly because it's a Zoom tournament. A turbo Zoom tournament. So turbo means the blinds go up quickly, so you reach the money more quickly. That's always nice. But it's made up by the fact it's a Zoom tournament. That means that you're not sitting at one table. You always move from table to table. You can immediately fold and you go to another table, so you can play a lot of hands, which makes up for the turbo formula because you can still play actually more hands than you would in a regular tournament, and that makes it that this is this rewards skill a bit more because you can play more hands, even though it's a turbo tourney. In this tourney, I'm doing very well here. I'm 18th out of 67. Still have a pretty healthy stack right now with 37 bigs. Pocket kings, I've had my share of good hands in this tourney. A lot of pocket queens and sometimes also pocket kings. And this is also pretty interesting. If you raise under the gun and you get re-raised, so I just ship it here, I think, yeah. Do I get a call? I'm not sure anymore. I think so, or maybe not. Yeah, here I busted 2-2 with nines. And I think we're going to see a call here. Yeah, with ace king. He has a gut shot, but he doesn't get that, and I double up. Yeah, and now I've 81 big blinds, and I'm 4th out of 64, so I have a very, very good stack here, one of the big stacks. So this tourney for now, we're already in the money. You can see the payouts here, 296 at this point, but 108 up top, and we're actually doing pretty well here for now. If I go a couple of minutes further then, you can see here, yeah, same tourney. I have ace-3 suited, and I just flat call, I think, because I have enough big blinds to do that with ace-3 suited in position, and we flop the nut flush draw. So we have ace high at the moment, but if a spade gets there, we have the absolute nuts, we have the best hand. That is always interesting. I decide to bet myself so I can show a bit of strength, take initiative, but also raise the pot for if the spade should come, and that does happen, so we have the very best hand right now. We're up against another stack, bigger stack than ours actually, one of the few bigger stacks, and it's very nice of course if you have... So we bet on the turn, he calls again, already 15 big blinds in the middle, and we decide to bet very big, more than 80%, and he snap calls. I don't remember what he had, but very nice, yeah, and this actually puts us in first for the first time. We are first out of 56 with 92 big blinds. So still doing very, very well in this tournament. And in those few minutes, there are still some other interesting hands. Here we go all in with sixes in the 110, where we're also cashing now, but we really don't have a lot of chips. We only have 8 big blinds. We are 211th out of 230 players. And we're up against ace 9. It's a flip, but we survive. And we have again 18 big blinds, so that's actually very nice. We again have a stack. And for now, we survive in that tourney as well. Also in the 110 Turbo Zoom, we're still doing well. Then next, we have yeah, the Bounty Builder 550. First thing I show here, this is nice. You can see here we have ace 5, we raised. A short stack goes all in. Actually, we are one of the short stacks too. We're towards the bottom of the ranking. But this guy has less chips than us, so this is the first time we can get a bounty, and we flop very good. We flop 2 pair. We beat his 7s. We were an underdog going into the flop, but we turn it around, and this is our first bounty, our first cash that we earn. Next then, if we go here, we can see in the Bounty Builder 550. Yeah, this is, I mean, this is really the scenario you hope for. You're in the big blind, you have pocket aces, there's a raise, a min raise, there's a call, and then a short stack with less chips than you goes all in. And there you're sitting with aces, so this is just beautiful. We re-raise all in to isolate, or if they want to, you know, they have to call me too. And I can get a lot of chips, but they all fold. He has king jack, the king gets there, but that's not enough, and we take our second bounty. So that's 250 in bounties, and a pretty nice stack too, because we were still at the bottom of the pack here, and now we move up towards a middling stack. Still not very good, but we're doing alright actually. Then going on, by the way, you can see we're still in the 110, we're in the money, the Zoom Turbo, we're in the money. And we're also still playing the 330 600 cap, 550 Bounty Builder we could just see, and here we have the big 330 where we are struggling a bit, 23 big blinds, but we're okay. We have some breath left in us yet. Then we move on. So yeah, this one here, we have, yeah, this is the big 330 again. We go all in because we have like 15 bigs, not even, and we decide to jam ace jack off in the cutoff, which is the easiest thing to do, and then we get unlucky because in the on the button there's guys with ace queen. It's still very very tense actually because we actually flop pretty good. We outflop him with a jack, but he has the flush draw, of course, and the flush gets there on the turn, and we are out. Well, we're not out, but we would be out soon because we have almost no chips left. We have less than 3 big blinds, and we won't be able to survive that. Next then. We go to oh yeah, so this is just a small overview. So you can see there are only 3 tables left. 2 are in the money. And so the 550 Bounty Builder, we're actually getting pretty close to the money. We have a pretty big stack now of almost 50 bigs, so we have moved up a bit. And we're actually looking very good to reach the money there too. Then we move on. Yeah, so here we go all in with ace king. We only have 10 big blinds left in the 330, the 600 player, where we have been in the money for a while. Ace king against jacks, and we still have flush draw, but nothing comes, and we are out of that one for I think $5.37. So only 2 tables are left now. The 550 Bounty Builder, that is, and still the 1 turbo zoom, where we're still doing very well in, I think I can show you here. This is the 550, where we are 349th of 746. So we're already in the money here actually. I haven't changed the table yet, but we have reached the money, so that is quite good too. And here this is the turbo zoom, and you can see that we are 4th out of 16 players. This is not a zoom tournament anymore. When we ended up with 27, there were just 3 tables, 3 fixed tables. And I don't think it's a turbo anymore, or maybe that's only the final table. Spoiler, spoiler, I will reach the final table here. But then it's every 10 minutes that the blinds go up, so the structure becomes slower. Okay, let's move on to another highlight. This one is a very interesting hand actually that happens in the PK, in the bounty builder. Let's see. Yeah, so here we have ace queen suited in the big blind, which is of course a nice thing to have. We are 342nd out of 587, and we have about 30 big blinds. Then there's a raise in middle position from Tim the Chemist, and then the button flat calls, and we decide to squeeze. This is a very good hand, and the button doesn't seem too strong because he only flat calls, and Tim the Chemist is under enormous pressure and folds, but then this happens quite unexpectedly. So ADSBA decides to jam it, which is kind of surprising. He would only do this if he was slow playing. He would do this with aces or kings, and so underrepresenting his hands. And then suddenly he now says, "Oh, there's a re-raise, so I'm going to shove it because I was actually trapping other players." Which would mean that I would be fucked with my ace queen suited if he has, for instance, aces kings. But this is a very difficult one because I find it very weird that he would slow play on the button when there's quite a late race and not too many only 2 people left behind him who can re-race, who can squeeze. I had to think about this one really hard. Of course, I can't get his bounty, otherwise it would be easier to call, but he covers me, so if I'm wrong, then I would be out of the tournament. So this was pretty difficult, but ace queen is, of course, a very good hand, and I thought it would be very weird if he just flatted ace king, and aces and kings. I don't know. It seemed like a weird move. So in the end, I decided to call, and he also has ace queen, and then this happens: 2 spades, another spade, and another spade. This was, you can see it, my reaction there. This really sucked. This really sucked. See my reaction again. There it is. Yeah, I made the right call. And thinking back, ace queen would be indeed a hand with which he could do that. He's a green player, that means he's a winning player. But still, I think it's a pretty weird move. First flat calling and then shipping it. But indeed, ace queen would be a hand to do that with, because sometimes you flat call with it, but then if you get re-raised, it's maybe hard to just call the squeeze, and you can maybe expect to bluff or a light squeeze and then ship it yourself. But still, it was weirdly played, I think, and I just got very unlucky because I actually was a small favorite against him with the suited cards, but yeah, he just gets there with the full spades, and I'm out of that one, which yeah, is unfortunate because I still have 30 bigs left, and who knows where I might have ended up in that tourney, but it didn't happen, which means there's only one tourney left for me, and that is this one, the Turbo Zoom, which we will fast forward a bit towards the final table. Here with our 11 left, 10 left, so we're now on the final table bubble. and we will reach that. So let's quickly go to that. Yeah, so here we are at the final table. This is the very first hand. And so the situation is I am actually 7th out of 9. I have 21 big blinds. And I should play this very carefully at the start because we have this guy sitting out. He only has like 2 big blinds. So I shouldn't do anything rash before this guy is out because he's not playing anymore. And if the blinds get to him, he will be out automatically, and we will ladder up. You can see the payouts here. Ninth is $10. Up top there is 108. I actually start at the very first hand. I start with pocket sevens in the hijack, which of course I decide to raise. But then I get re-raised by Hornbad, which means that I should fold. I think Guy Porto is also going to go all in, which makes it even easier. But even if he hadn't done that, I would have folded this because certainly, well, 7 is not that great a hand, and RKMNL is almost out, so I won't be taking any risks here. And we will see then if we move on. He's still in it, but then next hand, yeah, he's automatically all in. And then this is the first one out. And he almost 2 players out, but he doubles up with ace king because the flush doesn't get there. And so we move up to, we're now 7th out of 8, which is still pretty tricky spot for us. We have, actually this table is very deep. We have a short stack, but still 18 big blinds, so we don't need to do anything rash here. And we certainly need to be patient because Nightwall has about 8 big blinds. It's very short, and we should try and ladder up and not try to do some funky stuff and take risks because Nightwall is almost out. And as long as we're not a short stack or we don't have very, very good opportunities, we shouldn't take rash decisions. And so, for instance, here I think about calling with ace with 8-9 suited, which is a very nice hand to have in the button to flat call with, but not when you have less than 20 big blinds. Then it's just throwing chips away because mostly you won't hit, and I really need those few chips that I have to stay ahead of Nightwall and to use them for the better when there's a better opportunity to maybe double up and get more chips. Okay. So let's just fast forward now. Here we have a raise, and then Nightwall goes over the top. Oh, I wasn't really looking at the hand apparently. I was looking at the new throwable, and I didn't see that Nightwall actually doubled up. Which we can see here, 78,000. So that's bad for me. That's very bad. Now he's close to me. He's still short stack, but we will see in the coming hands that Knight will actually see here. He doubles up again with 5-6 suited. So he re-raises and he just gets lucky against ace queen suited. He makes the flush and he doubles up again. Still, I have a bigger stack than him. And I should just wait patiently. I still have almost 15 bigs. And actually, I myself am a bit card dead in this period. And I think we will see that Nightwall will double up again quite shortly. This is still the same situation. Here, yeah, this is a moment where I could go all in. King Queen is on the button. Everyone folds. I have now 10 big blinds left. So hang on. yeah, I had 10 big blinds left, and I decided to ship the king queen, which I should do when there are only two, only the blinds behind me. I should try and pick up the chips and take the risk because I really don't have many chips left, and then I can put a bit of distance between me and Nightwall. So I think that is just a risk I have to take here, and they just fold, and I get the chips. He only has 5 big blinds left now. I have 13 big blinds. But we're not rid of him yet. Yeah, so here he has just doubled up with pocket fives against king nine. So for now, this guy can't die. And that means that for the first time now, I am the short stack. So I am 8th out of 8. And I'm pretty close to Nightwall, but that means I should take a bit more risks. Or I should really wait for my chance to try and gather some chips. And we'll just wait for a good hand, or to hopefully steal the blinds when I'm able to, like with the king queen, for instance. So let's just move on a bit. We see here I keep being the short stack. Then Nightwall goes all in again. With like 12 bigs, and he picks it up. So now I'm even more of the short stack. But I still have 10 big blinds, so I'm rarely under those 10 big blinds, which means that I can still, I mean, 10, as long as you stay above 10 big blinds, you don't have to worry too much. If you're between 10 and 20, you can't do, you can't play creatively, but you can wait for good hands. You don't have to worry. And even when you're below 10 big blinds, you shouldn't play too rashly. Try to pick your spots to go all in, and not just shove with any pair. For instance, if you have a small pair in an early position, you still shouldn't shove it, because you still have time. It's only when you reach that 5 big blind mark, I think, that you should get worried. But a lot of players are actually too impatient. So what I'm doing is just waiting until some opportunity presents itself, but that turns out to be hard in these 20 minutes that I'm showing you. Now here I have, yeah, so these sevens are very welcome here, because I only have a bit more than 5 big blinds now, so I really blinded out. And then this guy raises, but sevens is more than enough to go over that. We have a pair, middle pair, and there's a lot of his range that we beat with the sevens. We are actually hoping that he has no higher pair, and that he only has overcards, for instance, or that he, sixes, fives, he could have that. And he actually turned out to have 6-4 suited, which is very, very good for us. We immediately flop a set, and so we double up, and we're not a short stack anymore. That is again Nightwall. And we again have more than 10 big blinds. We have, I think, about 13 big blinds. And actually, this guy has given us valuable information, which I'm. Oh, by the way, here we have an all-in. Ranarus, for no reason, ships quite a lot of big blinds with pocket sevens. He shouldn't have done that. He clashes into the jacks and he's out, which means that suddenly, quite unexpectedly, I don't think I even realized it here. I wasn't paying attention because I was typing in my comment, that we have laddered up. So we're now 6 out of 7 players actually. And so what I was saying was that we also have valuable information on Vitus PL here now, because he raises with 6-4 suited. As a big stack, which in itself is not that special, but it is something certainly in $1 tournaments. Not a lot of players will do that. It's very aggressive thing to do in a $1 tournament. So this actually gives us some information which might be useful later on, and I also typed it in my notes. So we move on then. We still have a very short stack. So actually, for most of this final table, we were always fighting an uphill battle. Always one of the short stacks. Never had, or most of the time, we don't have too many big blinds, and we just have to bide our time. Here we have Nightwall, which we're still waiting for that he might. Yeah, he's actually playing too loosely with a small stack. Here, for instance, Queen 10 suited. I don't really know what he's doing here. Well, I do know what he's doing here. He's busting. So he's out, and that means we ladder up again. We're 6th out of 6. We are by far, if you look at the chip stacks now, we are by far the short stack. We have 10 big blinds, and the other ones are actually all pretty deep. So have at least 30 big blinds or more. So this presents a problem for us. We just have to hope that we get a good hand and that we can double up and see from that point on. So see how that goes, or hope that maybe other people will get callers. It would be nice if we could reach 5th place, because then that would mean that we would break even at the least. So here we have gone all in with pocket eights. Let's see how this hand started. Yeah, we just we open shoved from the cutoff with eights. With exactly 10 big blinds, we get a call. And we get another call. So that doesn't look very good for eights, but then this is a very good flop for us. 3-3-4, so we're hopeful. Homebad takes a stab at it, always a bit scary when one of the players represents strength on the flop, representing an overpair, but he actually just has ace queen, and the queen doesn't get there, so we double up. So we have, we triple up. Yeah, so that is very nice. 225,000, and suddenly we have actually a nice stack, more than 30 bigs, and we're getting close. We're still last, but we're getting closer to the other ones. And we, for the first time in at this final table, we actually have a stack with which we can play, with which we don't have to play too straightforward, and maybe try some things. Like re-raising, take a stab at a pot that doesn't belong to us, try and bluff, stuff like that. So let's see how it continues. Here we have an all-in, but they fold. Playing with Jack. Yeah, so we tried a couple of things, lost some chips again. Tried to play with Jack Queen. That didn't turn out well. So again, we're dropping a bit, you can see, but still, we have more than 20 bigs. So we can be patient again. Here we have a stand, but we fold this from an early position against a player. The worst player at the table for sure is Peterberg, who always or mostly raises very big. So here he raises more than 4 big blinds from under the gun, and ace 10 off when we only have 20 big blinds left. That is not something that I certainly don't want to call, because then I invest a lot of chips with marginal hand out of position against an unpredictable player. And I also don't want to go all in, because I know he's very, very loose in his calls, and I don't want to put my 20 big blinds on the line with only ace 10 offsuit when he raises from under the gun. He mostly has a pretty good hand and would likely call. So yeah, I thought there were just going to be better spots, and I could even six-handed. Ace 10 is a good hand, but I thought it was better to fold here, which I do. And we wait for a better opportunity. Here, yeah, this is one of those things where I think he raises pre-flop. Yeah, min raise, but 10-8 is good enough to call and see what develops. And then we have we have a gut shot, but with 2 undercards to the queen and the jack. And we simply can't continue because we don't have the chips for that. We can't just hope that a 9 will peel off. Because we just don't have the chips to invest, and we should save them, so, but always a bit annoying. Then we have again ace 10 in the small blind, and I think again there will be a raise. 3 big blinds, again pretty big. And again I think we will fold this, or will we shut? This is for sure more difficult. I'm thinking about it a bit longer. I think we will fold. Yeah. Yeah, this guy is also pretty loose caller with a big stack. And yeah, same thing. I think ace 10 off is just not worth it. Jacks is a whole other matter, of course. Again, same guy raises, 3 big blinds. And we have a re-raise here, which um, is probably pretty strong, but we do have jacks. And jacks are just too good to fold here. We are by far the short stack. We just need the chips, and there's no other stack that we should wait for to bust because we're the short stack ourselves. And we had fourth best hand in poker. Of course, Vitas, yeah, we already know that he can raise or open raise at least very loosely. This is maybe a different matter because he 3-bets here. But still, I think jacks are just too good. We can never fold. He might have tens or nines and do this with. He might have ace king. This really feels like ace king, which he will turn out to have. I can already tell you. And let's see how that goes down. So we get a call here. Ace king off. Nothing on the flop or on turn or on the river. So we double up. We're lucky here. And suddenly we're fourth out of sixth. So we have more than 300,000 chips. Immediately 8-9 suited. So we put those chips to work immediately. We will get a call, I think, from Guy Porto. And now we again have a gut shot, but now with 2 overcards, so we certainly continuation bet this one and we pick it up. So that's pretty nice. We are now in the middle of the pack and we really have options against this very, very weak table. We know that Peterberg is for sure a very weak player. The yellow ones are also ones that have a very low shark scope rating, which mostly means that they are inexperienced, or at least not very good players. Some of them actually have played quite a lot of tourneys, but they aren't too good. This guy has a higher rating, but we have seen that he can play some risky style of poker. So we feel pretty good at this point actually with our stack. And let's see how this continues. Here this is just, yeah, we raised pre-flop and this is just a c-bet hoping to pick it up, which is not easy against Peterberg because he calls a lot, so I know that I have to bet again. I know that he can have, I mean, he can have ace high and call this or some kind of gut shot, but he calls again. We decide to check it now, and he only had a jack, so he called with the gut shot on the flop. Then he was lucky to hit his jack, called again, and yeah, that was a bit of a bummer because now we're fifth out of six, 230. We lost some chips here. This is an interesting hand where we have king queen in the big blind, and we just called the raise from Guy Porto, who is also one of the most active players at the table. As Carosimo, by far the least active one, by the way. And we did pretty well. He checks behind on the turn, which makes us very confident about our hand. Although later on we will see that this guy actually slow plays sometimes when he checks. He will re-raise me a couple of times during this final table. And one time we will call him later on, I think, and he turns out to have a very good hand. So we know he slow plays his good hand sometimes, but not in this case. And we actually get there with the king queen and take home some chips. So let's continue then. Oh, this is also an interesting one. We raise with the jacks. Home bet calls. And Guy Porto decides to squeeze all in. The only reason we're waiting here is because I'm sure we're going to call with the jacks. We're never going to fold. but I don't want to call too quickly because home bet is still in the pot, and I don't want to give away the strength of my hand. He immediately folds. We're up against sevens, very good. But then, bam, this happens. Very, very unfortunate. And so yeah, at this spot, we're totally fucked. So let's continue. So let's look at this again. You can also look at my reaction, which is of course that I'm appalled. And at this point, we have 31,000. That is 3 big blinds. Look at the other stacks. This guy just, is very, very lucky. He has a 5% chance on the turn, but he gets there. And here we're completely screwed and all but out of the tournament. Here we still fold the queen 5, but we have 3 big blinds, and he taunts me a bit, which he is allowed to do. I don't mind. He actually turns out to be a pretty nice guy. And so, yeah, now I just need a lot of luck. I mean, there's no skill involved if you have only 3 big blinds left and the other players are all quite deep stacked. So what happens now is I'm in the big blind. A third of my chips is already in the middle, even more. And of course, yeah, I can't fold Jack 4 suited. It's not a good hand, but it is suited. We have a Jack high, and we're actually ahead, as you can see, and we're lucky because our hand holds up, and suddenly we have 6.5 big blinds again. And we immediately have ace jack, so ace jack goes in. We get a raise and we get another call, so a lot of chips in the pot. And against ace 9, there's no 9, there's no diamonds, so we double up again. So in 2 hands, suddenly things look much better again, because we have now, I think, 15 bigs. And we can do something again. We can. We're still short stacked. I can't die, I say. So having a bit of fun. But I'm not out of it yet. I'm still. Again, I'm the short stack as I was for a lot of the time in this tourney, but still surviving. And 5 of us left, so yeah, for a while already, right? Let's see how this continues. So here we have King 8 suited, which is a hand that I will for sure shove in the small blind if everyone folds. And pocket 4s. I think I will fold here against an under the gun raise. Yeah, 4s is just not good enough. Oh yeah, this was an interesting one. So here we have King 4. We're not the short stack anymore, as Korosamo is the short stack. And he decides to ship it in the small blind, and I have King 4. I have already seen him play quite bad hands or go all in with quite bad hands. And I think about this a bit, but I think King 4 is King high is actually enough, and I'm ahead of a lot of his range, and I should call there, even though, yeah, this is basically all or nothing. Because if I lose this one, then I probably won't be able to come back. Then I have 20,000 left or something. I have 2 big blinds left, even less. But I was actually right. He had 8-7 suited. He doesn't get there. My king high is good. We double up, and 4 players left, and I am 4th. And still short stack, as we are for most of the tournament actually. So let's see what happens then. Yeah, here we had pocket 10s. Hang on. Yeah, we just pick it up with pocket 10s, so we go all in. I think it was a re-raise all in. Here we had the queen 9 and we have to fold here against the pot bet on the river. Yeah, I'm not trying too much, even though we have more than 30 bigs. I'm actually not trying to bluff too much because those three players are all three players that call quite easily. Let's see. We'll move it up a bit further. Oh, we just missed an all-in here somewhere. Yeah, so home bet only had he lost quite a lot of chips somewhere here against Peterburg. He lost most of his chips, which I think was quite unnecessary. Hang on, what was that went a bit quickly. So a bluff, I guess. Yeah, weird hand, but he lost most of his chips there. And now I am not a short stack anymore. I raise the ace-5, get the cut shot. So here we have, I know that I can re-raise this and still get called by things that are worse than a flush, which is exactly what he does because he calls so many things. So that was a good re-raise by me. And then, yeah, this is the point where Holmberg chips it. And the guy Porto decides to call. There's a king on the flop, but there's an ace on the river. So again, he rivers and has almost a million chips. And I say it here to him, the river is kind to you. So I am the short stack, but I still have a comfortable stack actually. Yeah, I still feel pretty good here. Here I bet with an ace and he raises me and I decide to fold because if he calls I know that he might have nothing, but if he raises then he probably has a very very good hand. So my top pair simply won't be good here. 10-9 suited is an interesting hand here. I decide to call against him a lot and not to be too aggressive before the flop because I want to play a lot of post-flop hands against him. Then I have more information, and I know that I can value bet thinly, and he will still call me a lot of the time, and he will only re-raise me when he really has good hands. He's actually a very, very predictable player, this guy. Let's continue a bit. I think here we will just again call, see what the flop brings. Queen high, so that is ideal. He checks me. He doesn't slow play, so we know that he certainly doesn't have a queen. We have full house here, and he decides to fold. But we're already climbing our way up and getting closer to the other two. Again, here we have a speculative hand that we just call with to see a flop. We flop good, we turn better. And again, we are able to extract some chips from him. I don't remember what he had. I think he will call her again. Yeah, I don't. A 10 or something he had. Always those very very marginal hands that he just calls it off with too easily. I must say that at the latter stages, I was really blessed with good hands a lot of the time. Here I raise with ace queen. I get two calls, two checks. I decide to check behind again because they call a lot. And here against the big stack, I decide to fold. Here we have top pair against Peterberg. And here I think we tried to trap him. But we hopped over him here. Let's continue a bit. Yeah, this three-handed play went on for a while. I think Peterberg, a couple of times he had a really short stack, but he always managed to double up. There was actually this one hand where I had ace 10 and he had king 10 and Guy Porto had queen 10. Don't know if that hand has come to pass yet. It was very annoying because I raised ace 10, he went all in with king 10. And then he shoved over it with his queen 10 and I couldn't call anymore. And then he won the king 10 against the queen 10 and I would have won with the ace 10. But I had to fold and I really don't understand why he did that, why he shoved all in with the queen 10 when we had a chance to eliminate Peterberg if we both were in the pot. But okay. In each case, both of them played too many hands, and especially Peterberg, being short stacked. He just donated a lot of chips with very speculative hands and not and calling off just too much. Pocket fours is not something that we're very thrilled with here, of course. But they play it very passively, so I decide to bet. Of course, Peterberg calls again. We check, and see he really had. If you look at this, he has ace 9. I bet, and so he calls with only a gut shot. One card to come. Okay, it's not a very big bet, but still, he can have an ace, of course. He can hit an ace, but still, this is a very risky call. Certainly, when you're the short stack, he just calls it off, and now he was really lucky because he hit a straight and tried to slow play it, I guess. But so I just checked behind. Otherwise, he for sure would have shoved on me. Here I have pocket aces. Very nice that Peterberg raises. I decide, of course, to re-raise because he calls a lot. And I think he will call me again. For sure, if he raises, he will never lay it down when he gets re-raised. And that is, of course, a very good flop. We have the ace of diamonds. I think now he decides to fold. No. Then he probably will fold now. So, but again, he loses a lot of chips. And he's very short stacked. Again, we have aces. As I said, I had a lot of good hands, and I'm actually a big stack now with more than 1 million chips. Peterberg is very, very short now. Oh, this is the hand. This is the hand. See, see it from the beginning. So I have ace 10 on the button. I raise, and Peterberg decides to go all in. I'm ready to call him with the ace 10. It's more than enough for, you know, his short stack. But he has 806,000. Oh yeah, he decides to call. Not a shove. Okay, so, but I feel like he's very. When I raise and he re-raises all in, I was a bit flabbergasted that he decided to call a pretty big all-in still with only Queen 10 suited, and I folded because I thought, well, if he already puts it in, he can eliminate him, and I don't want to be involved with just ace 10 against Kaiporo, so I decided to fold. But he didn't shove over it, he just called. That was still very loose, I think, and I would have won the pot, but I wasn't in it anymore. So Peterberg doubles up, and we're still three-handed. I'm not going to show all hands. It goes up and down a bit. I had a million for a while. This is actually an interesting hand, again with the ace king. Yeah, this was a beautiful, beautiful flop for me. Not flush draw, top pair, top kicker. The turn is not that good. Yeah, so he re-raises me here on the turn. I call, but then there's a total blank. We don't hit our flush. And then he pot bets. I mean, that looks very strong. That looks like a straight maybe, or at least two pairs. So yeah, sure, of course I fold there against the second biggest stack. Here again, we have a big pot developing between Peterberg and Guy Porter, who played a lot of pots against each other. And now their stacks are pretty even. We're mostly around a million here. Peterberg again now has a very short stack. But here again he doubles up with the nut flush. So he has 451,000 again. And so here I'm playing a hand against him. We don't get our flush. And decide not to try and bluff. That's too risky against him. We'd rather wait for a good hand. Here we have a 6. A 6 certainly might be good against him. So we call. If he bets it second time, we know that it won't be good. But he doesn't, and now he does again. Well, we decide to fold with only bottom pair. And so, yeah, here suddenly he's big stack again, Peterberg, which is kind of amazing. So this guy has 9 lives. Here's 7 deuce in the big blind, and we hit 2 pair against Guy Porto, and decide to triple bet it. And we get called 3 times. He actually had a 7. I remember that. And suddenly Guy Porto is short stacked here. And we are big stack again, but then it changed again, so hang on, where was this? Oh yeah, so here we had the all in with ace 9 against queen 8. That was yeah, so he raised, he called with the queen 8. Second pair is more than enough for him, he bets with it. Re-raised, he just calls it off. Everything and loses. Yeah, so that's how easy Peterberg loses his chips. Pocket queens we have here. But we just pick up the blinds. And so we've played a lot of hands three-handed here. And I always felt like I had everything under control. This was really the part of the final table where I felt like skill was more a factor than cards. Although I didn't have to complain about my cards. I saw my fair share of good hands from the point where we were 5-handed or so. Yeah, I think this was, yeah, okay. Here, this is the point where he re-raised me. So let's look at this again. Oh, hang on. So I king jack, gut shot, check check. Uh, Again check check. So we check on the flop, we check on the turn. Then I bet on the river. I'm pretty confident, of course, with my top pair, and then he suddenly re-raises, which is weird. And he had already done that a couple of times. So I thought maybe it could be a bluff. I mean, with three-handed king high is of course very good, but he had a set. So here I knew, okay, when he does this, this actually means that he really has a monster. But that was a pretty big dent, 517,000, and he had more than a million. So good for him. Then he again, Peterberg, guy simply can't die it seems. And then, as soon as I say this, ace queen against jacks. So this plays itself actually, and he doesn't get there. And suddenly we are heads up, but we are a huge dog because we have less than 500,000 against his 1,610,000. He has actually 100 big blinds, and I have not even 30, I think. Yeah, so this was our first all in with the sevens, and he calls with king six suited, and we immediately, yeah, sevens were good to us this session, always coming seven, and suddenly we're actually pretty close to each other. So let's just take a look at the conclusion of this heads up. A lot of quick play here. We have a gut shot, and I was able to read him pretty good by then. I think he often snap bluffed flops and turns. So if you bet very quickly, that often meant, especially so pot bets very quickly often meant that he was bluffing. For instance here, yeah, he had just six deuce, six high. And I was actually, yeah, a lot of post-flop play. I think I also tried to play against him. Could also value bet him quite thinly. And felt that I could bluff sometimes. I certainly didn't play too aggressive. I didn't raise too many speculative hands or marginal hands pre-flop because I knew that he would call about 80-90% of the time, so I certainly didn't raise a3 suited or something, stuff like that. I just when they were suited, I just limped, and often he checked behind to see what the flop would bring. And unsuited hands like 7-3 for instance, offsuit, but also queen deuce offsuit, I just folded, I think. So I actually played pretty conservatively. Because I think it was really to my advantage. I felt like I was a better player, and I felt it was really to my advantage that we were still deep stacked. We both had around, what is it here, 50 big blinds, 40 big blinds. No, 50 indeed. This is pretty good flop for me, of course, with the nut flush draw and the straight draw. Jack 7 suited, one of those nice little hands that I like to limp with. We hit a 7, but then there are 3 overcards, so this is a very big overbet which felt like he had a very good hand, so he folded. And now, yeah, we were pretty much even. 1 million chips. And both more than 50 bigs. So there was no reason for me to try and force things. I could just wait for decent hands. 8-5 offsuit, that's one of those hands, I could try and raise with them, but I never did, I think, and I think that was a good choice. I also didn't limp with them, I just mucked them. Here I decided to re-raise sixes. And here I shipped him because he checked, checking in this spot. I was pretty sure just meant that he didn't have anything, that he was very insecure. Because I already re-raised him, he wouldn't be slow playing, I think. So I just put him all in there. And even if he had called me, I would still have the flush out maybe with the 6, the baby flush. Here I re-raise him with 2 overcards, a flush draw, and a straight draw, which is of course pretty nice. And so at certain points I certainly put pressure on him. From the point I was above 1 million chips and I took over the chip lead, I often put more pressure on him and try to re-raise him a couple of times. So here ace high is a pretty good hand on a paired board. We finally just split the pot. So it went back and forth like that a bit. But as I said, I always felt like I had the upper hand. Here 2 overcards and a straight draw, open-ender. Then we hit our 7, which we feel good about. So we bet, and then we check it when there's an ace. And we snap call him because we invite him to bluff, and there's the snap pot bet, as I already talked about, which often turned out to be a bluff, and here this was the case too. So we invited him to bluff with the ace, and that worked out pretty well. And this is actually the first time that we were building out a lead, and there was some distance between us now. King high, of course, I call his raise. We don't hit anything, and we just fold to his pot bet. Standard. Queen jack, we raise ourselves. That is a good flop. Simple c bet, and he folds. So those are all standard hands. A7 suited is a nice hand to see a flop with, but he suddenly ships it for a lot of big blinds, 44 bigs. And A7 for sure is not good enough there. I mean, I don't think he will. Maybe he does this with 2s or 3s or 4s, 5s, 6s, which we would flip against. But why would we do that when we have the upper hand? We don't want to cripple ourselves, cripple our stack. So A7 was for sure a fold there. Then little c-bet bluff, which got through. Ace3 suited, we decide to put some pressure here with. We have an ace as a blocker, turns out wrong, and we can easily fold. And so he comes back a bit. Stacks are pretty much even again. But yeah, we're not worried. Very good flop here for us. Still, we believe in our jack. Probably doesn't have the queen. So no, we check again. We might have bet again. We don't, and we pick it up. That was probably too conservative. Too careful, probably. Here we have 2 overcards and a cut shot. Right, yeah. I was thinking, what do we do here? This is indeed a very good spot to raise because we have overcards and we have a straight draw, and he often bluffs. But now he does call our re-raise, so and we're lucky. We hit the straight, and we decide to ship it. Hopefully, it looks like a bluff because we looked weak on the turn. But of course, yeah, there's a straight on the board, and he decides not to hero call. I don't know what he had. I don't know if he really was strong, had top pair or less. But we were a bit lucky there. We tried to bluff him off a hand with a semi bluff, and our draw got there in the end. But he folded. Otherwise, it could have been over right then and there. But of course, we have a very good stack here, more than 2 to 1. And we keep hitting a lot of the time. Here we have a 10, we have a flush draw, and we get trips, which is certainly enough to call, but he has a straight here. So there were 4 cards to a straight there on the board, but I still think we should call their heads up. Here this is also very good for us. We decide to re-raise him. He calls, and I think now we ship it with the top pair and the flush draw. And he calls, and this is actually the last hand, and we are pretty lucky here because he has 6-4. So we were ahead. Let's go back a bit. So here we let's see it from the beginning. So he has 6-4 off. We have 10-7 off. He decides to min raise. We call, and this is a flop. So he hits his 6, and I hit my 10. So at this point, of course, I am ahead, and I also have a flush draw. So that is very nice. He decides to c-bet his second pair, which is perfectly alright, although he always pot bets, which I really don't think is good. Certainly when he has a short stack like this, he shouldn't put too many chips in the pot with only second pair. I decide to re-raise, which I feel very good about with my top pair and my flush draw, even if I have a cooler that he has a better 10 or he has an overpair. I still have a club that might be good. He calls, and then he gets very lucky on the turn because suddenly he has 2 pair. But I actually have a lot of outs. 10 is an out, 7 is an out, a 5 is an out because I also have a gut shot straight draw, and of course any club is an out for me. I don't know it at this point. I still feel pretty good. I decide to put him all in. Of course he calls. He should do that, and then see I have 43%, which is actually very good when I'm up against 2 pair with my 1 pair. And I get there with the 7, and I take it. I am the winner, yay! And I earn $108. So that was a session. Pretty happy with it. Of course, yeah. Some tables I was very unlucky. Remember the ace queen against ace queen in the bounty builder, 550 bounty builder. That might have been something beautiful, who knows? But that didn't go through. But I did win the 110 turbo zoom. First, I already reached the final table once, and I was 8 out of 9, and now I win it. And I feel like it was certainly deserved. For the biggest part of this final table, I was fighting an uphill battle. And I got lucky unlucky one time with the jacks against sevens, but I got lucky several times when I needed it. And in the end, I think I was able to outplay my final opponents. I'm pretty happy with the win. So okay, that was my session, which I gave you a summary of. I hope I could offer you some insights and you enjoyed it. And I will see you for the next session, which will come pretty soon. Goodbye.